Okay, buckle up because I'm about to ruin your childhood in the best way possible and also make your American office English 10 times better. Here is the wild stat that should make you quit your job today. Most Americans spend over 90,000 hours of their entire life at work. 90,000. That is like watching Monsters, Inc. about 60,000 times while slowly losing your will to live under fluorescent lights. And Pixar knew this. Monsters, Inc. is not a movie about monsters. It is a straight-up documentary about working a corporate job in the United States, and they just did not tell us when we were kids. If you have ever worked for a big company in America, you have already lived in Monstropolis. You just did not get the cool fur. For everybody watching on Bright English who wants to sound like a real American at work and not like a textbook robot, today we are doing a deep dive. We are stealing the most useful workplace vocabulary directly from the Scream Factory floor, and I promise you will use every single one of these words in your next job interview or your next rant about your boss. Forget boring business English lessons. This is the real stuff Americans actually say around the water cooler, in Slack messages, on Zoom calls when they think the boss is muted. Let us get into 8 workplace secrets that most English learners get completely wrong and that Monsters, Inc. somehow explains perfectly. 1. Onboarding, orientation, and learning the ropes. Most people think starting a new job in America is just showing up and doing the job. Absolutely not. In the United States, the first week is called onboarding and orientation, and it is pure chaos. That is when HR gives you a laptop that does not work, makes you watch 50 training videos about not stealing office snacks, and gives you a tour where they say, here is the break room, here is the bathroom, where you will have your existential crisis. In Monsters, Inc., even the best scarer in history had to go through onboarding. Mike Wazowski literally went to Monsters University to learn how to be scary, and Sully had to learn how to use doors, how to fill out scream canisters, how to deal with the CDA. Learning the ropes means learning the basic skills of a new job. If you walk into an American office and say, my first week was confusing, that is weak. If you say, my onboarding was crazy and I'm still learning the ropes, you instantly sound like you have worked in America your whole life. 2. Quota, KPI, and being a top performer. Sully is not just good, he is the top performer. He is number 1 on the leaderboard every single day. And every single day there is a quota. A quota in American work culture is the minimum result you must hit or you are considered a failure. For Monsters, the quota is how much scream energy you collect. For a sales rep in California, it is how many deals you close. For a barista in New York, it is how many lattes you make per hour. Americans are obsessed with KPIs. KPI means key performance indicator, basically the numbers that prove you are not slacking. We do not say work hard anymore. We say hit your numbers, crush your quota, exceed your KPIs, bring in results. And if you do not hit your quota, you get a very awkward meeting with your manager, just like when Water News pulls someone into his office. Learn this phrase and use it. I am stressed about hitting my quota this month. That one sentence makes you sound American. 3. Micromanager, middle management, and the office gatekeeper. Let us talk about villains. Mr. Water News is the classic micromanager CEO. He acts nice, he says we are a family, but he is watching every move and he will throw you under the bus to save the company. Every American worker knows that speech. We are a family means we will underpay you. Then you have Roz. Roz is the most accurate character in the entire movie. She is not the CEO, she is not a scarer, she is administration. She is the gatekeeper. In every American office there is a Roz. She controls the paperwork, she knows who came in late, she knows you did not file your scare report correctly. She is not your direct boss, but she has more power than your boss. That is middle management and admin power in America. Middle management is that layer of managers who do not do the actual work, but walk around with clipboards and create more work for everyone else. If you have ever said, my boss is annoying, level up. Say my manager is totally micromanaging me, and the gatekeeper in admin is making my life miserable like Roz. People will feel that in their soul. 4. Toxic workplace, whistleblower, and corporate cover-up. This is where Monsters, Inc. goes from cute to dark and super real. The whole company is built on a lie. There is a scream shortage because kids are not as scared anymore, but leadership will not admit the business model is broken. Instead, they scare the employees even more. They say kids are toxic. They create fear to keep control. Sound familiar? That is exactly what Americans call a toxic workplace. A toxic workplace is not just a bad job, it is a job with constant fear, gossip, lying leadership, no trust, and you feel exhausted even before you log in. Americans use this phrase all the time now. My last job was so toxic I had to quit for my mental health. That is a real sentence you will hear in Los Angeles, in Austin, in Chicago every day. And what do Sully and Mike become? They become whistleblowers. A whistleblower is an employee who exposes illegal or super shady stuff happening inside the company. In America, whistleblowers are protected by law, but also everyone knows they risk everything. When Mike yells out that Water News is kidnapping kids to steal screams, that is a full-blown whistleblower moment. So instead of saying, I told everyone my company is doing something bad, say I became the whistleblower and expose a corporate cover-up. That is powerful, modern American English. 5. Performance review, write-up, and PIP. You know that moment where Roz slides her glasses down and says, I am watching you, Wazowski, always watching, and you feel your stomach drop. That is a performance review in America. A performance performance review is a formal meeting, usually every 6 months or once a year, where your manager pretends to give you helpful feedback, but really just list everything you did wrong since January. It is stressful, it is awkward, and it determines if you get a raise or get fired. If you mess up big, like letting a human child loose in a factory full of monsters, you get written up. Getting written up means you get an official warning that goes into your permanent employee file. In many American companies, 3 write-ups means you are out. And if they really want to fire you, but want to look nice about it, they put you on a PIP. PIP means Performance Improvement Plan. It sounds supportive, but most Americans know it means start looking for a new job. So, pro tip, do not say my boss was mad at me. Say I got written up after a brutal performance review, and now I am on a PIP. You will sound like you have survived corporate America for 10 years. 6, shift work, overtime, burnout, and quiet quitting. Monsters work shifts. Sully and Mike work the day shift on the scare floor. There is also a night shift. Just like nurses in Ohio, warehouse workers in Arizona, and baristas in Seattle. You have a set shift, and if you miss your shift, you are in trouble. But when the company is in crisis, what happens? Forced overtime. Overtime means working more hours than you are supposed to. In America, anything over 40 hours a week is supposed to be paid extra, but many salaried workers do it for free because of pressure. Sully is pulling overtime, trying to fix everything while also babysitting Boo. That is double overtime with 0 extra pay. And after too much overtime, you hit burnout. Burnout is the official American word for being so exhausted from work that you cannot function as a human anymore. You stare at your screen, you hate your alarm, you have no energy to hang out with friends. Mike is so burned out trying to manage Sully and Boo and still hit his numbers that he snaps. And that leads to what Americans now call quiet quitting. Quiet quitting does not mean actually quitting. It means doing only the bare minimum of your job because you are burned out and you refuse to go above and beyond for a company that does not care. Half the monsters on that scare floor were definitely quiet quitting before Sully changed the system. Use it like this. I am burned out from working overtime on every shift, so I am kind of quiet quitting right now. If you say that in the United States, every single person will understand you perfectly. 7, climbing the corporate ladder, brown noser, and office politics. Every monster on the scare floor wants to climb the corporate ladder. That is the American idiom for getting promoted, making more money, getting a fancier title. You start at the bottom, maybe in the mailroom, and you climb rung by rung to the top. Randall wants to climb the ladder so badly, he is willing to cheat, lie, and build a torture machine. He is also the ultimate brown noser. A brown noser in American slang is someone who sucks up to the boss in a super obvious and embarrassing way. He laughs too hard at the boss's jokes. He brings coffee. He agrees with everything Water News says, even when it is evil. Every office in America has a Randall, and everyone hates Randall. And that whole game of who likes who gets promoted even though they do not deserve it, who talks behind who back, that is called office politics. Office politics is the invisible game that decides who actually gets ahead, and it is rarely about who is best at the job. If you have ever said my coworker got promoted even though I work harder, Americans would say, yeah, office politics is brutal, and he is such a brown noser. He climbed the corporate ladder by kissing up to management. 8, pivot, restructure, and company culture shift. The most beautiful part of Monsters, Inc. for American work vocabulary is the ending. Sully realizes screams are not the future. The whole business model is outdated. He discovers that laughter makes 10 times more energy than screams. So he does what every successful American company claims to do. He pivots. To pivot in business English means to completely change your strategy because the old one is failing. Every startup in Silicon Valley pivots. We pivoted from scream power to laugh power is exactly how an American CEO would announce it in an all-hands meeting. And to make that pivot work, he has to restructure the whole company. Restructure means fire some people, move people around, change departments, rewrite all the rules. And most importantly, he changes the company culture. Company culture is the vibe, the values, the way people treat each other at work. Old Monsters Inc. culture was fear-based, toxic, quota, obsessed. New Monsters Inc. culture is positive, fun, supportive, work-life balance friendly. This is the exact language you hear when a company in the United States gets a new CEO and says we are restructuring and pivoting to improve our company culture. If you can use those 3 words in one sentence, you will sound more fluent than 90% of native speakers in a LinkedIn post. So here is my big analogy to bring it all home, because this is why this movie matters for your English and your life. Right now, working in America feels exactly like being in Monsters Inc. during the scream shortage. Everyone is tired, everyone is being told to do more with less, hit a higher quota, be more scary, while secretly the bosses know the system is broken. You feel that pressure to perform while knowing deep down there has to be a better way to work and live. And the movie gives us the answer. The answer is not to scare yourself to death trying to meet an impossible KPI. The answer is to find where your natural laugh energy is, where work feels lighter, where the company culture actually supports you. That is the difference between surviving your job and actually enjoying your shift. Most textbooks will never teach you words like burnout, whistleblower, brown noser, pivot, or toxic workplace because they are too busy teaching you how to say the pen is on the table. But if you walk into any office from Miami to Seattle and you use the vocabulary we just covered, people will look at you and think, wow, your English is incredible. You get it. You have lived it. Now, I need you to settle a debate that is about to get messy in the comments, and I want you to be brutally honest. Who really carried the company? Mike Wazowski, who did all the paperwork, all the training, all the emotional labor, all the planning, and got zero credit, or Sully, who was naturally gifted, super likable, but would have been fired on day one without Mike doing all the admin work behind the scenes? Are you Team Mike, the underpaid, overworked backbone of every American office, or Team Sully, the talented top performer who everyone loves? Fight it out below. I am reading every comment. And if you love this breakdown and you want to sound even more like a native speaker, you have to subscribe to Bright English right now, because next week we are going even deeper. We are cracking open your brain with Inside Out to teach you the real American emotions vocabulary you need when work destroys you. Words like I am spiraling, I am overstimulated, I am crashing out, I am in my feels, I am having a core memory. All that real American therapy speak that you hear on TikTok and in every office break room, but no textbook will ever teach you. Trust me, you do not want to miss it. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you inside your own head next time. Let us get fluent together.